Okay, we have a few minutes left that we can take questions and answers, so we're going to take them from the audience, and I will bring the mic to you if you have a question. Do I have any other questions? Everybody's pointing. Over here.
Thank you, Maria. This is for the state school board folks, and you can decide who wants to answer that first. What's your stance on the unequal funding between public ed and the charter schools? It's a big concern to me. As a principal here at the school, I believe that parents need to have the choice of where they want their children to go. And we have kids here at Weaver High that are partial homeschool kids, and we have kids going to charter schools and regular ed, and we have public ed, and we have private school kids. But I'm concerned as a principal about the uneven funding level for the differences between charter schools and public schools.
Check. Okay, start my time now. Charter schools are public schools, so that's important. There's traditional schools, traditional public schools, and public charter schools. The charter school movement has worked for a long time to see if we can equalize that funding. Right now, we're pretty close to equal. The only thing that's real different is the charter schools don't get transportation funding because they don't bus students. They also pay for their buildings out of their operations fund. So about 20% of their money goes to pay for their buildings. So they're able to run a school on 80% of what traditional public schools get. There is a property tax difference issue, and for charter schools, they've taken property tax income and they have equalized that statewide. I think that that's a move for all public education. I hope that's not too much information.
I believe the charter schools provide some great choice, particularly those that are focused in specific areas. The funding is a substantial issue, and I do agree that there's been substantial progress made in that area. I also know that there's some concern as the parents and those that have this charter, they do have some limitations. I've seen some great charter schools that have overcome the obstacles of the funding by being really committed to the dollars that they are able to have. I also know that the public schools, the regular public schools, have some challenges to be able to protect those that are getting pulled away. And so it's really not an easy question to answer. I just know that for me, I don't think there's any one single issue or answer, but I think that we're making progress in the state, to be fair.
All right, this is for the county commissioners. I was just wondering if you would consider building, or would you support a Weaver County Recreation Center similar to the Davis County Recreation Centers, and how would you be able to help that kind of fruition?
I'm not familiar with the Davis County facility that you're speaking of, but I think in government we have to be extremely careful not to do things that private business can do for themselves. That's one of the things that gets us in trouble when it comes to budgeting. And obviously we want to foster opportunities for our citizens, but I think we need to be really careful when we reach into areas that private business can do on their own.
I'm not familiar with Davis County's recreation center, so I can't really speak to that specifically. I just know that within Weaver County, we do recreation activities, but they're over at the Golden Spike. but I'm not familiar with the Davis County, so I can't speak to that.
Well, having a recreational center would be wonderful, and I think that's probably something that we could probably fall under the RAM tax and use the grants that way in our sales tax to create something like that. But I think the main thing that if we did do that, we'd want to make sure that there wasn't any cost passed on to you guys. That would be the most important issue. Thanks.
There's a grassroots organization out there, millions and millions of Americans who support limited government, responsible government, Constitution. I want to know why Sam Granado or his spokesman thinks they're extremists.
Thanks for your question. Sam does not generally identify himself with the Tea Party movement. Our opponent, Mike Lee, does. The Tea Party movement has very much embraced him. Mike Lee, specifically, Sam believes is extreme for a couple of reasons. One, he has said in the past that he wants to abolish Social Security, that he wants to phase it out and roll it back, and people have to pay in the system to get nothing. We don't feel that that's a mainstream point of view. He wants to change the Constitution in at least 5 different places, including repealing the 14th, the 16th, and 17th Amendments. The 17th Amendment gives you the right to elect a United States Senator. Sam Bernardo does not believe that that is a mainstream point of view, and that's where that came from. Thank you.
However, I didn't ask about Mike Lee, I asked about the Tea Party being extremists.
Is it gone? Any reference to the Tea Party was completely contained to Mr. Lee and his stance. And to any extent that individual members of the Tea Party agree with Mr. Lee, we would consider those extreme stance.
I actually happen to personally know Mike Lee, and you very much misrepresented his position. And I want to ask you, how are you the expert on Mike Lee's, and what gives you the right to represent his points that he's never represented that way?
Which specifically, ma'am? Which point specifically?
Pretty much everything you just said.
Mike Lee is on the record, and I can show you video documenting his positions on Social Security. He has walked those positions back now because he knows that they don't play so well with the general public, and that's fully within his right to do, but he has been on record advocating the dissolution of Social Security. He said it's unconstitutional. As far as his willingness to change the Constitution and change those amendments, that has been fairly well documented in the press. I don't mean to slander Mr. Lee. He's a good man. I've met him. He's a good man. He's a good father. But we just have some very significant differences in policy and the direction that we believe this country should go, respectfully.